He talked politics.
Well, actually, I wanted to start from there and say,
please, yeah.
You see, the position of a leader of majority is provided for in the standing orders of the House.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for your greatest support. Now, fellow Kenyans, before we get deeper into the discussion, I would like to request you guys that if at all we are meeting for the first time, please don't forget to click the subscribe button. You can as well like, you can share, you can drop me your comment in the comment section. Tell me where you're watching these videos from and how these videos are reaching you. The most important thing, fellow Kenyans, is that you just subscribe, because, you know, sometimes you watch the videos and forget to subscribe when the video becomes interesting and enjoyable. So please, first of all, just click the subscribe button and all shall be well. Now, I've got a few things to talk about in this video, because it's just a recap of what happened in the morning during the daybreak on Citizen TV. And I would like to start by saying this. You know, sometimes our expectations, whenever these leaders are given podiums or platforms, rather, whenever they're given platforms like TV stations, like radio stations, whenever they're given platforms, our expectations as citizens is normally to hear them talking about issues that are affecting us. You know, we normally expect them to express our grievances or maybe express our feelings because they represent us. They know what Kenyans are going through. They really know what citizens are going through right now. But now the problem comes whereby you find that what these guys are talking about, they do talk about themselves. Like they talk about the leadership. They talk about, they are fond of talking about themselves more than us. Our expectation is that, you see, at a point, it reaches a point where people are supposed to be negotiating. You know, they're supposed to be talking about, okay, now citizens are going through this. What is it that needs to be done? You see, such kind of things. Hao watu wanapitia hii, nini haswa kinapaswa kufanywa? But then you realize that everything that these guys talk about, everything that they talk about is just about leadership, how they are supposed, the House, you know, the Parliament, the Senate, things that don't add value. Like for instance, today in the morning, I had them, I've been listening to them, by the way. At least when I listened to them, I had them talking about three major things. They were just measuring on the by-election, you know, they just on the by-election, the impeachment, you know, best party. So you wonder, the impeachment, why would you bring the okay, what is the interest of our citizen? What is it that we need to do with the by-election? What is it that we need to do with the impeachment motion that normally takes place in Parliament? You are the people that normally that are supposed to do the impeachment. Why bring it to us? You are the ones that knows how by-election, by the best party. Okay, best party, that is according to you, because according to us, we don't measure into the best party. We measure into people that are working. We don't want to say that, oh, Mara, this is the best party, you know, blah, blah, blah. So this is the best party, should be considered. No, that is nonsense. We don't need to look at that. What we really need to look at, what we really need to focus on is your leaders, yes. What is it that you're producing? What is it that you're doing for us as citizens that we can be happy about? Our interest is, are we comfortable with your leadership? Are we comfortable with your kind of leadership? If not, then what is it that we're supposed to do? What is it that's supposed to be done to make sure that we are comfortable with the leadership? Not that, oh, you know, ODM is the best party, DCP right now is the best party, UD is the best party. That is nonsense. Eddie Okech, Senator Nyota, and Segei. Those are people, I really don't know why sometimes these guys are normally given a platform. I'm just asking, I don't know. But sometimes you wonder, you listen to somebody being given platform, somebody that has been given platform, you are like, what happened? Why is it that this person was given platform? Because everything that this person is talking about is just about themselves, about our party, about myself, about what I can do, what we can do. They don't talk about what we can do to people. You know, they focus too much right now on supporting William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua, rather than what are they supposed to do to make Kenyans comfortable. Right now, the main focus should be, what are we supposed to do to make sure that Kenyans are comfortable? Instead of those other issues, matter, oh, there is that. those are nonsense. I don't think if that is what is supposed to be discussed right now. I don't think that is the best thing that is supposed to be discussed at this point. So I want you to listen to these guys from the beginning up to the end. And then after listening to them, you also tell me what you think. Do you really think that it is necessary to give these people platforms to be talking about all these issues, these things that they talk about? If yes, why do you think so? And if no, what is it that's supposed to be done, especially with these our royal media houses, to make sure that they host people that have got sober mind, people that are seeing ahead, people that knows so well that they're representing people they don't represent. Part on the lives of the people.
Yeah, Wakili Sige. Before I get into this, just allow me to sign off on the impeachment process. Yeah. I want to invite my colleagues and the general public to also have an input. We are currently, as JLAC, we just tabled a report on a bill that has been proposed towards county government state officers' removal from office that touches on the process of removal of a governor, so that we deal with the issues of threshold, fairness, the numbers, and all that we've talked about in the process of impeachment in future. That is the only way we can also input more and also deal with the processes that will ensure that the public is protected. Impeachment processes are also supposed to meet certain concerns. So I want to invite my colleagues and the rest of the public to look at that bill and also give their input so that we deal with these issues we've raised in future. Now, the outcome of the just concluded by-elections. I want to start from where AD mentioned. Mid-term elections are normally mid-term. It is one of those elections where, in most cases, the government in place always is very unpopular. And for us to have gotten the wins that we got is in itself something to be proud about as a member of the ruling coalition. And I'm happy that neither Senator Joe Nyutu or Kongo Mogeni talked about the numbers. They singled out an aspect of the entire process of the election on violence, which I'll just say something about it in a moment, but they did not talk about the numbers as to who won and what role that win speaks to.
Yeah.
In all the constituency elections, Mbere, Kasipul, Magarini, Malava, Banisa, the rest of those members of parliament, the entirety of it was taken by the broad-based arrangement. I would have been very worried if they had talked about Kariobangi, Kabuchai, Nyamira, Narok by-election for members of county assembly and said we won for the MCAs and we lost for the members of the National Assembly. That is a fact. They were sworn into office, and therefore, from where I sit, it was a win, despite the fact that being a mid-term election, government is normally very unpopular. Number two, and this is very important as regards the aspect of now the violence that was experienced across. The violence were not only on the side of the government. It is true, we witnessed in incidences in Migori, Malava, Homa Bay. Mbere, yes, and Homa Bay. And it's obvious we are fighting for a political space. The only unfortunate thing is that, which is something I would want to encourage, IEBC and all other government agencies, including the police, there is a law in place that deals with that. What we are asking of them to do is let them implement the law. There is no government that would support Goonism. And I'm happy, and this is also to the benefit of my colleague, I'm sure he must have watched. The CS for Interior, Murkomen was in the studio the other day, and he spoke into a report of Jukwaa la Usalama, which everyone was proud of, to the extent that he's gone down to deal with the lowest of leadership in the chiefs, assistant chiefs, and all that. He admitted that in the course of all this Jukwaa la Usalama engagement, the county of Nairobi, for example, is the leading in terms of the militia grouping.
130.
130. He identified that in that report.
It's a concern, is it?
It's a concern. He said that it's a concern, and therefore, it is not that they are supported by the government. I remember he said that despite the fact that we've identified these ones and the existence of these things, these groups, the proposal that was made is, what do we do in order to make sure that we deal with them. He acknowledged the fact that most of these groupings are associated with politicians. And it is true. When we were watching what was going on in Mbeere, the former speaker, the Honorable Muturi, was seen on TV running to hit some member of public. Whether
he did not,
an MCA,
yeah,
he didn't. He was restrained. And you know, that's the kind of the goonism that we are looking at, because if leaders are the ones who are leading groups, because you could see behind him there were a group of people who were supporting, whether supporting him or trying to restrain him, that is part of the conversation we are saying. We have got groupings in form of goons who actually will mess up this country if, as the CS was saying, we need to have a concerted effort, all multi-agency groupings required to come together and deal with them. Yes. It is possible for such sometimes even to overwhelm the police. We saw what was happening here. And so the fact that it's acknowledged and the fact that we are aware, we have an opportunity to deal with it pre-2027 elections.
Okay.
As I close, I want to just give a challenge also to the IEBC. Yeah. It could be that this was one of their first assignments to do, but you know, they cannot give this as an excuse. They have the support of the government, they have the support of the public, because us as politicians would want to make sure that we've got free, fair and verifiable elections. And I'm sure they've learned a lesson in it. But for the government, this was a well-executed and a happy outcome for those in government. And there is a brighter opportunity for the ruling coalition and those like-minded to win more in the 2027.
Subject to what the Kenyan people will say at the ballot. He talked politics.
Well, actually, I wanted to start from there and say, you see, the position of a leader of majority is provided for in the standing orders of the House. So for the leader of majority in the Senate, the Honorable Senator Harold Cheruiyot, to move that motion is one, part of his responsibility as the leader of majority, and two, as a senator as well, who is also entitled to take a vote in that house, equally has a position to take. And so it's not easy to distinguish between him as the leader of majority, who in that position then is in law required to move, whether it is substantive or procedural motion, it is the of the leader of majority in the House. And therefore, we shouldn't even castigate the leader of majority by moving that motion. That is provided for. It is only during the Kericho debate, I think, when he opted not even to move that motion, of course, because of the interest that we all know. And it is allowable for Senator Omogeni to also take a position as regards that which was said by the leader of majority. Otherwise,
regarding especially the living standards and the state of the economy.
Thank you, Ayub. And I really appreciate the way you have framed that question, because the fundamental issue that has come very strongly, at least from my two brothers, is the issue of intimidation and coercion. And remember, if you read our Constitution, Article 86, it prescribes a certain election that must be considered to have been conducted to a certain threshold. And that election has got three tenets. One, it has to have been done in a secret ballot. Number two, it must be freedom from coercion. That's what the Constitution calls it. And that coercion is further, explained in terms of things like intimidation, voter bribery, all these things that my two brothers have talked about. And number three is transparent vote counting. The Constitution says that. So we must appreciate, first of all, that this was the first time the current IEBC was conducting this election. And perhaps, I don't know, people might give them a scorecard, given that this is the first time that they've organized. If you look at the number one and number three issues in the Constitution, I think they tried their best. But this issue of coercion, it will be important not to single it out as one political divide suffered it more than the other. Like my friend Nyutu might have indicated, maybe my friend Nyutu was more focused on Mbeere and did not know that there were many by-elections that were happening in the country that needed that we make sure that all Kenyans are protected from any kind of violence. Because the truth is this, the violence that was meted in this election on a number of people were not only by government people or by opposition people, it was violence that we have never seen before across board. And we must take it as that. In fact, the worst happened in Homa Bay that you have quoted my brother Ayub. where an MP is assaulted in the glare of camera in a gazetted polling station. What does that mean? It means that both IBC and the police failed completely to even secure that polling station. Because a member of parliament cannot come, whether to observe and any other person, by the way, even a voter who has just come to a station, cannot come and be assaulted to a point of almost being beaten to death in the glaring camera of media, and police is also there, without anything being done. So this is something that must concern the country, the kind of violence that we saw, and must be condemned in the strongest point possible, not only in Mbeere or in Ugunja or in Homa Bay, but across the country. This is something that must end. Okay. And that said, my brother Mogeni has given us scorecard on how these elections happen and their implications. I can tell Mogeni that midterm elections are always very difficult for any government. I mean, you have seen this thing, even if you're to borrow from other jurisdictions, that the US, where we were with you, in November 4th, you saw it was very difficult for the government. But even yesterday, we had midterm elections where you saw that the Democrats in the US had a swing of about 10 to 15% against the government. So these things happen. But I think that the yardstick, if you're not speaking politics, the yardstick for the president, my brother Mogeni, were two. Was either winning Mbeere or losing it, and either winning Malava or losing Malava. That was the biggest test for what I would call the broad-based angle that we have to talk about. But I think that winning sometimes is trivial compared to the work that remains to be done for Kenyans between now and 2027. Because I can tell you for a fact, and I'm not a fan of maybe saying you want to praise a government or anything. But the thing is, if the government of the day does not do the things that the people want to be done, that touch into the economic issues, into the social welfare of the population, into the security of the country, you will face a harder election than just the fact that these elections have happened. Because let me tell you, Ayub, 2027, I can tell you for a fact, coalitions will emerge. And those coalitions will be more important than even the by-election that we have just had, because we know our country is always run on alliances and coalitions. Right. So the task for the president and the task for the government of the day is, one, to deliver to Kenyans, and then number two, to communicate its successes properly. Because I think there's a very big gap in terms of the government of the day communicating its successes. If I had time, I would tell you a number of successes that I think are really important, even from where my brother Newt comes from, that the president has done so much, but the people he has in government are just not communicating. Look at the coffee sector. The retail price of coffee has increased almost from 65% to around 110%. That is where it comes from. If you look at the issue of tea, where Mogeni partly comes from and the people in the Rift Valley comes from, the price of tea has increased to farmers.
No, you are misinformed.
Yeah, I'm not misinforming.
Tea has dropped. Our bonus earning dropped from an average.
I'm not talking about the bonus earning. I'm talking about the retail price of tea, because it is factual.
Which is more important?
Yes, the retail price of tea, because that is what goes to farmers. You see,
I bet the Muranga senator is a farmer.
Yes,
don't say that on show,
because
the tea is disaster.
But you know, I get his time. If you think he has got facts,
Senator.
Yes, but I'm saying if you look at even the milk sector, the price of milk has increased. This is a fact. If you look at the sugarcane sector, I can tell you for a fact, because I'm also a sugarcane farmer, you will see that we were producing 490 metric tons before the Ruto took over. Right now, we are almost getting to 1 million, and the sugar importation in this country has dropped. And I can talk about a number of these things, but they are poorly communicated, and they will cost the president if not done and well
told before they bring the matter to us. But now coming to the matter of by-elections, first of all, I want to tell you, Ayub, that the opposition did not lose. Victory was stolen. Actually, I should not say it was stolen. I should say the opposition's victory was robbed. Because about Mbeere North, where I was, the voting was happening last Thursday. I mean, everybody in this country who follows the news because you people who are covering these particular by-elections know that, for example, in Mbeere North, there is a polling station called Gitifuri, where CS Rocco, which CS Rocco invaded, accompanied by, goons armed with crude weapons and plainclothes officers who were armed also. And he drew, as a person, in person, drew out our agents, the opposition agents. What happened in that polling station? After that, only CS Rocco can tell you. So the intimidation, the amount of money spent, the mere impunity, violence, and even lies in Mbeere, old people were told that if you do not vote for the government candidate, in this case Wamudende, then your social protection monies will be withdrawn. What do you expect of old people in a rural setup? The presence of government, because government had basically been transferred to Mbeere and Malava. But let me talk about Mbeere, which is where I was. That intimidation, the number of voters appearing in polling stations saying that they needed to be assisted. Yeah. The imaging, taking images of the vote, because they had been told, and this is true, they had been told that once you photograph or you take a picture of your vote showing that you have voted for the government candidate, then you are going to be paid some money. The buying of ID cards, that young men and women were told, sell us your IDs up to Friday. We give them back to you on Friday after voting. All these. And then the government emerges after all this intimidation, voter bribery, robbing of polling stations. Okay. They emerge with a mere victory of about, I think, for
sovereign power. Yes, Senator Joe and then Senator Omogeni.
Thank you very much. And I want to say that Senator Omogeni is a very kind gentleman. He says that the broad-based government went 50-50 in Kenya's, the by-elections. I think he was just kind. He knows that if you win in Mbeere, after transferring the whole government to Mbeere, and you win in Coates, transferring the whole government to Mbeere, invading police stations, and you win by 400,
polling stations, you mean, not police stations?
You can even call it a polling station. It had registered voters of over 800 voters.
But a police station cannot be invaded, that's what I meant.
No, a polling station.
Yeah, polling station.
So they will not be able to transfer the whole government now to 290 constituencies. So it cannot be 50-50. Of course, with all those things that happened, and you are bragging that Tuliwa Osha just about 400 votes, having transferred the whole government, all the resources of government, intimidation and everything, violence. And so it's not 50-50%. I want to remind Eddie, I did not ignore the by-elections that were happening in other areas of the country. In fact, I kept saying that I'll talk more about Mbeere because that is where I was, where I can give a witness account. Of course, I was following what was happening in other places, and I did not say that I was only looking at Mbeere. I only said that is where I was. But one interesting thing, Ayub, is both the Senator Sigei and Senator Eddie keep talking about how midterm elections are difficult. I heard that with the majority leader yesterday, and I think they must have borrowed from there, which is okay. But, we used to take mock exams when we were in school. And whatever you scored at the mocks level, mostly, was not very different from what you scored at the end of it. None of them talked about, how difficult elections are at the end of the term. They were very careful to say mid-term elections are very difficult for government. Nobody mentioned about end term. I just want to tell them that the end term will be more difficult, and it will not be possible to transfer, the whole government to all the constituencies. These were just 2 constituencies. And why, they are avoiding talking about the wins that we made, especially as DCP. The narrative that they have been, trying to create, led by the president, that Rigathi Gachagua and DCP is a village. Actually, this is a village party, is a tribal party. It has been shattered. DCP won in Narok. Narok, I want to remind Eddie and Sigei, because in case they have forgotten, Narok is in Rift Valley. It is not in Mount Kenya. Then DCP won in Kisa East. Kisa East, Senator Eddie, is in Kakamega. Kakamega is in Western Province. Then DCP won in Kariobangi North, in Nairobi. That is not Mount Kenya. They will not talk about that. And, government was not transferred to those particular ones, although there was a lot of violence sponsored by government in Narok when Rigathi Gachagua visited. But anyway, we were able to win. The concentration was in Mbeere North and in Malava. And so, of course, they know the truth, but they'll not tell our viewers the truth. Eddie, please, next time, you want to talk about successes of government, please, you just joined government the other day. Let the people who have been in government tell us about these successes. When Eddie starts talking about successes in coffee, tea, if there is any success in tea and coffee, and Ayub, this would then be because of the reforms that were initiated under the leadership of Rigathi Gachagua, who was deputy president. We had, this is a fact, we had Rigathi Gachagua, when he was deputy president, led a very big conference on tea in Meru, and that is a fact, where many stakeholders were invited, and we were able to identify the problems that were affecting coffee, and especially marketing. And we were able to know that it was actually cartels, which were then policies were implemented that were able to shut out these cartels. Then we had a big tea conference, again led by Rigathi Gachagua, who was deputy president, in Kericho. And again, many other ideas came and policies came. So, Eddie, next time be fair. Say, I impeached Rigathi Gachagua, but I give it to him. He initiated coffee and tea reforms because those are facts that are known. And then now tell us what the broad-based government has achieved. Okay. But for coffee and tea, please be fair to Rigathi Gachagua finally. Don't look at the numbers in these by-elections because there was a lot of voter suppression. And that's why there was, I told you, there was buying of IDs in areas. The idea how government won, in quotes, was through violence and making sure that very few voters, especially those who supported, because of course they enjoy intelligence, they know the areas that support opposition. They bought IDs and suppressed those people. I feel like this and please, Senator Sigei, just allow me to say this. Senator Sigei says that Murkomen gave, a report on Jukwaa la Usalama. We are not serious in this country. Ayub, if you ask me. I would have expected CS Murkomen, having identified that there are about 130, militia groups in Nairobi, to tell us we have been able to investigate and we have arrested this number or the leaders of these particular gangs. But now he was there lamenting, saying what he has done. What has he done? He should have been giving us his report card. What he has done to arrest this very disturbing situation. And to be fair to Muturi, Justin Muturi, Sigei says that there are people behind him. Those were not goons, unless Senator Sigei does not know how goons look like.
How do they look like?
They were just people there. And Muturi, yes, he confronted that young man. And if you watch that clip, you will see that the young man, I think actually insulted Muturi or something. He went to him by himself. Not through any goon or goons. And there were people. And there were people there. So please,
you should allow us.
We were talking about goons and militias.
Yes.
I
And
mean, he did not have any.
Yes, yes.
Please be fair to him.